The other morning, I woke up to a strange but vivid dream. I was taking skydiving lessons, something I have never considered doing. The instructor was trying to make things clear and simple. I imagine that skydiving is not the kind of thing you want to get wrong. She said, you just need to remember 3 things. When I say, are you ready, then you, 1, jump out of the plane, 2, pull the cord to release the parachute, and 3, listen for the music. She explained, I'll be blasting some music from the plane, and if instead of the rush of the wind as you hurl downward, you can hear the music, you'll know that your parachute has opened, and you are going to live. Now, here's the part of the dream that I don't understand. Evidently, I did something wrong. Because there I was, back with the instructor, reviewing with her the experience when I said, I never heard any music. She just said, you must have forgotten to pull the cord. When I said ready, I guess you were not ready. I woke up thinking, that dream has a message for me. You see, like many pastors, for me, not being ready is my major theme of Holy Week. I try really hard. I really do try really hard. On Friday, to get ready for the Good Friday crosswalk, where we carry this 11-foot cross through the streets of New York and through Central Park, I made sure to get everything ready way ahead of time. I printed the scriptures that we read at each stop along the way. I went to the store and I bought some grape juice and a little loaf of bread that we could use for communion along the way. I found a nice little chalice and a decent cloth to use. And I put all of that together in a nice green bag beside the church door right next to this 11-foot cross. Ready, I said. You know how this ends. On our way to the starting point, which was way down on 59th and 5th, carrying that cross along the road, we were almost to that starting point, and I thought of that nice green bag. And I realized that I had left my nice green bag back at the church. Even when I think I'm ready, I'm not ready. Even when I try my hardest, I'm not ready. And that's been a bit of a theme for me throughout the pandemic, maybe throughout my whole life. I've just never felt completely ready. I thought of that on Monday when some of us were on a march and the leaders were teaching us a song for marching that went, we are ready, we are ready, we are ready, here we come. We are ready, we are ready, we are ready, here we come. Everybody, we are ready, we are ready, we are ready, here we come. Because even as I was singing that song, I kept thinking, no, that's a lie. I'm not ready. I'm not ready for anything. I'm not ready for anything. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. No, not yet. And if I'm not even ready to get my act, now this is like the 38th time I've done Holy Week here at the church. If I'm not ready to get my act together for Holy Week, it's not rocket science. But if I'm not ready, then I'm certainly not ready to effectively challenge the systems of poverty and racism and militarism in some way that will bring about real change. Not ready. Not ready. But you know, as the story of that first Easter starts out, Mary and Joanna and the other women who are with them are ready. They are ready as they head out of the house early that morning. They are ready. They had procured ahead of time the spices that they are going to need to give the body of Jesus a decent and proper burial that there just wasn't time for on that Good Friday. They had carefully prepared those spices, and unlike me, they do not leave them behind in some green bag. But 5 or 6 of the women set off together to find the tomb where they had last seen the body of their Lord. And they are ready, as ready as they could be. After all, Jesus, their rabbi, their friend, had been brutally murdered by the government, put to death for crimes that still seem a little murky to us today. It's a risky business still, associating with Jesus, even after he's dead. We need to understand that. But they don't seem worried about that. Of course, they know also that there's this big old stone sealing the tomb, a huge round stone, could be 6 feet high, that was used to seal off the entrance to these cave-like tombs. But the way Luke tells the story, they don't seem very worried about that either. I guess they figured that working together, the 5 or 6 of them could get the thing to roll away. But there's no need. There's no need, because when they get there, they find that the stone has been rolled away from the tomb. It's just not there anymore. And when they go into the tomb, though, they don't find the body that they came to prepare for burial. They find an empty tomb. They were ready, but they were ready for a dead Jesus. They were not ready for an empty tomb. They already know the bad news. They've been living through the bad news. They are not prepared. They are not ready for the good news. And then these 2 Easter angels appear, 2 men in dazzling clothes. It says dazzling, the same word in Greek that's used to describe lightning. 2 men appear, looking fabulous, it says in Greek. And they ask these women a question. Why do you look for the living among the dead? Why search a cemetery for a dead Jesus? There is no dead Jesus. Do you remember what he told you? Do you remember who he is? Yes, he was executed by the Roman state. Do you think the Roman state is more powerful than God? Well, Luke says that naturally the women are perplexed. They don't get it. It's resurrection, but they're not ready to recognize the resurrection. Who would be? And so the angels say, listen, and repeat after me. This is a repeat after me song. Rise up, he said he'd rise up. 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 Did you not believe a single word he said? Did you not believe a single word he said? Why look for the living in the place of the dead? Why look for the living in the place of the dead? Rise up, your Lord did rise up. 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 A love so amazing won't stay underground. A love so amazing won't stay underground. Seek him and find him, he's there to be found. Seek him and find him, he's there to be found. Seek him and find him, he's there to be found. Seek him and find him, he's there to be found. And then, only then, do they begin to recognize the possibility of resurrection. But it's confusing. It's a kind of reluctant recognition. It's a glimpse of the possibility of resurrection. It's a, could this be resurrection? kind of resurrection. And so the women run home, frightened, confused, overwhelmed, and excited. And they find the other disciples, those men who had gone into hiding, afraid. And they tell those men about the rolling stone, about the empty tomb, about the missing Jesus, about the two men in dazzling outfits and all that they said, about glimpsing the possibility of something new, of something different, possibility of resurrection. And of course, the men don't believe him. The men don't believe them. Is that a surprise? The men do not believe them. Easter doesn't fit into a world like theirs. Easter doesn't fit into a world filled with Roman soldiers, doesn't fit into a world like ours, filled with horrific images from a smoke-filled, blood-drenched subway car. Horrific images of war from Ukraine or the Congo or Ethiopia, Sri Lanka, Myanmar. How does the promise of new life, even the possibility of life, fit into a world so swept up, so caught up in the things of death? So the men don't believe the empty tomb. They don't recognize the possibility of the resurrection. But Peter, Luke says, but Peter. Luke loves that contrasting conjunction, but. He starts the Easter story with that word, but. And he uses that little word 6 times in these 12 verses. That's because I think that Luke realizes that there is something so strange, so different about resurrection, about the possibility of life coming out of death, about that profound idea of a second chance of life. Something so different, it requires a contrasting conjunction to set it off from everything that's come before in the gospel. One year, in preaching on this text, I made the mistake of referring to Easter as God's butt. And all of a sudden, from the youth group hanging out in the back of the sanctuary, who I swear to God had not listened to a word before that, came this explosion of laughter. Oh, God's butt, he said God's butt. But Easter really is God's way of saying, you people are so fond of the ways of death and destruction, so enamored of the negative. Look, I'm doing a new thing, and this new thing, this Easter thing, this resurrection thing, is a big contrasting conjunction to everything that's come before. But Peter gets up, and Peter runs to the tomb, and Peter sees what? What does he see? It says he sees some linen cloths. Luke says he sees some linen cloths, and they're over by themselves. It's not a lot to go on. But you know what Peter really sees there in that empty tomb? He sees the possibility of resurrection, that death won't have the last word after all. Peter recognizes the possibility that life, not death, that life, not death, has the last word. It's really the message of the Easter story, according to Luke. And getting back to my skydiving dream, which still bothers me, by the way, maybe that is the real message of that dream. Not that I'm not ready. So what? I'm never ready. I'm never going to be ready. But the message, maybe, is that with God, there are second chances. Second chances, even in skydiving, because death is never the final word. And I don't need to be ready, because God is ready for me. God is ready for you. Amen? I know in my soul that resurrection happened, and it happened for Jesus, and it happens for us, thank God. And when I pay attention, I can catch a little glimpse of it. And I want us to be ready to recognize the possibility of resurrection, even in this world that we're living in, even in this time that we are living through. There's a different life that's possible. There's a new life that's possible with a big contrasting conjunction to set it off from everything that clings to hate, to violence, to despair, and to the ways of death. I'm ready for that. Are you ready for that? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Because here we come. We are ready, we are ready, we are ready. Here we come. We are ready, we are ready, we are ready. Here we come. We are ready.